listening to the Marketing Happy Hour podcast, where we discuss career and industry insights with our peers in marketing.
We're here to talk about it all, like the ups and downs of working in social media,
how to build authentic relationships in the influencer and PR space,
managing a 9-to-5 and a side hustle at the same time,
how to be productive in your life and career without losing your sanity, and more.
Ultimately, we're here to build a community with you because we're all trying to navigate the world of marketing together.
Are you ready? Grab your favorite drink and join your hosts, Cassie and Erica, for this week's episode. Okay, Cassie, we have a lot to get to today. We just got back from New York, which that was like the most fun trip ever. I just loved connecting with everybody in person, and we did our little event adventures during the day, which was so fun. But before we dive into a recap on New York and the event that we had there in partnership with creative people, and talk about how it's been 3 years since we started the podcast, I do have to ask you a very important question that we ask all of our guests, but we always like to share what's in ours as well. What is in your glass this afternoon?
Yes. No, New York was awesome, and excited to dive into that. But I have a Celsius this morning or this afternoon, whatever time it is. It's really funny. We've been chatting for 2 hours at this point now, going over goals and stuff, and I don't even know what time it is. But no matter what time it is, I have a Celsius. That is my fuel for the day. What about you?
Good. That's always good. I actually, fun fact, have never tried Celsius, but I hear it's good and everybody loves it. So maybe someday I will try it.
Yes.
I just have an Aura Bora, which big surprise. I just placed an order on their website the other day because they did a collaboration with, PF Candle Co. And they came out with a flavor with them called watermelon chili. I haven't tried it yet. I'm just cracking it open right now, and I will report back in a couple seconds when I do try it. But this collab came with a case of this flavor, a candle, and a matchbook, which is the only reason I bought it, because I don't even know if I'm gonna like this flavor, watermelon chili. I'm sure I will. Every flavor they come out with is delicious. However, I collect matchbooks and I needed that matchbook. So I did a little online retail therapy with that. But
I love
anyway,
that.
I'm gonna try it. Oh my gosh, you'd get the chili kick. I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of that part, but it would be really good with a little tequila, little tahini rim. I think I'm on thing there with that. It's very summery.
There you go. Next episode, you'll have to make that cocktail and report back again. Well, it's funny you mentioned matchbooks because I feel like I started my matchbook collection during our trip 2 weeks ago now. And I have 6 matchbooks by my hotel lobby candle in my living room. Anyways, that was kind of a visual example of how many places we went to in a span of 2 days in New York, which was a lot. And I talked to a couple of people and they're like, it looks like you were there for a whole week. And I'm like, I felt like I was there for a whole week. Because not only did we explore a number of different amazing restaurants and stuff, but we had this incredible event with creative people. And this event was so awesome. Not only did we get to meet so many people in person, both listeners and new people who had never heard of the show before, and just getting to meet them and hear about their personal journey, but we had an awesome panel with some incredible people on it, including Alfred, Kelly Gordon, Jack Appleby, and Michael Kaye. And really, there were a lot of marketers there, but it was very career and just kind of personal goal focused, which I thought was very refreshing because at least when I was living in New York, I attended so many marketing specific events and it was all about strategy and marketing, which is awesome. And I feel like we need that. But I think just really surrounding yourselves with people who are facing some of the same challenges that you are, but are afraid to talk about it, and just kind of removing the stigma of those conversations was really important. I think a lot of people, at least it sounded like, were very refreshed of that conversation. So I'm truly grateful for that time we got to just kind of chat with everyone during that panel.
Yeah, and so inspired too. And I think it's really important, you said it, to just like come together and champion one another and just like be cheerleaders for those in the industry that may not have, another source of that, encouragement and inspiration. And so I think that was like super impactful. And I also like got to connect. That's my favorite thing ever is like connecting in real life with people. And so getting to just see faces and like put faces to names of people who have like reached out to us or like follow us on Instagram or things like that. And I also like one of my friends from ninth grade that I like really lost touch with came to the event because she lives in New York. And so it was so cool to like just bring people from all areas of our lives and just like meet together in person. That was like my favorite thing in the world. So thank you. If you came to the event, thank you so much. We really, really value you being there. And if you didn't get to come to the event, we will probably have more in the future. So be on the lookout for that. But I know we want to talk about some key takeaways. So,
Yes.
Cass, what are these takeaways?
Yeah, so like I said, we had this amazing panel with these panelists, and it's so crazy because you and I were up there moderating. And so of course we're not taking notes during this panel, right? Because we're listening and we're asking questions.
These 6 key takeaways from the panel were literally points that I think were ingrained in our brain because we remembered them after the fact. So just really important, just principles and insights that we want to pass along to you. And hopefully they encourage you. So Erica, I believe you have our first of the 6 key takeaways.
Yes. Yes. So Les Alfred, who is the host of the Balanced Black Girl podcast, she was just so inspiring and she has this like calming presence and like calming voice and everyone was just like enthralled while she was up there. They were like, she's incredible. But one of the key things that she said was your career is not your identity. It's an assignment and assignments will end. So it's important to know like who you are outside of your career. And I just could not agree more with that. We talk about it all the time. What are those offline things that keep you fueled for the online things, or what are those things that you can hone outside of work that leave you feeling refreshed and able to do your best work and put your best foot forward no matter what you're doing in your career. So a big focus of the event and the panel was like career pivots and like moving on from one thing to the next, or like trying to find that passion, or knowing that it's never too late to start doing the things that you want to do or the things that you love. And so just having that perspective in your brain of like your current position is just an assignment and you will learn something from it and you will move on to the next assignment. But having things that carry with you from assignment to assignment is so important. So knowing like who you are outside of your career, to her point, and really developing skills that you want to carry from one assignment to the next, and relationships that you want to carry from one assignment to the next is just so invaluable. And Cassie and I can really relate to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other point that she was trying to make is, although the panel was so heavily career focused, to your point, like how do we get to the next step in our career? How do we pivot? Ultimately, there's more out there than just career, right? There's more things that like add to our life and things that lead to happiness and stuff. So it's almost this delicate balance of focus, which I think was important to have that reality check as well. So, well, the second point I have here is from Kelly Gordon from Creative People. And she was talking about reaching out to recruiters and asking for jobs. And she was saying how it's important to not just ask for a job and say, hey, I want to work for your company. How do I do that? Tell me what the next step is. But literally sharing why you would bring value to the company and stand out by sharing a portfolio or examples of your work, or even ideas that you've come up with that the company can leverage, things like that. Because Kelly's whole point was, when you just go and ask for a job and not share why or how or what, it's making the company or the recruiter or the hiring manager do more work to figure out how you would fit into that company. So literally telling them and helping the hiring manager kind of picture how you'd fit into the goals of the brand is so incredibly important. And it kind of does that work for them.
Absolutely. And we just released an episode about this maybe like a month ago where we were talking about like interview tips or like preparing for your next role and things that you can do to make yourself stand out. And I think that just echoes the points in that episode. So we'll put that episode in the show notes so people can go back and listen to that as well if they are looking for tips around landing that next role. But the third point that I have is from Jack Appleby. If you're not familiar with Jack, he has a newsletter called Future Social, and he has a really great perspective on a lot of like social campaigns out there that he shares every week. So it was a treat to have him on the panel. And he said, learn by doing. If you want to be a wellness creator, for example, maybe start by offering to shoot content for a wellness creator and shadow them. And I think the main point that he was trying to allude to is another point that like Gary Vee always makes, or like things that we always say is like, go out there and start doing the work. And if you're passionate about it, the opportunities will follow. So if you're out there, you want to learn how to do something, start doing it as a passion project, as a side project, and you will understand whether or not you actually want to carry that into what you're doing on the day-to-day to like monetize or like have it be part of your career. I think that's really what he was trying to get at, is just like do the things for free that make you feel fulfilled and see if there's an opportunity to make those things your career.
Right. And I think this kind of goes into the point that Kelly was making of having some sort of portfolio or something to show your work for. If you, let's say you want to make a pivot into social and you're currently in PR, maybe go offer to do some social for some small businesses and you have something to show for those roles or those clients that you want to work for, versus just saying, hey, I've never done this before, but like, I think I'd be good at it. And here's why. You actually have something that can kind of showcase the work that you've done, even though you haven't maybe fully professionally worked in that sector. So that was a really good tip there. So next point here, point number 4 is about mentorship. And Michael, Kelly, and Jack were kind of driving this point home about mentorships. But really what they were saying is that the best mentorships are driven by relationships and genuine connection, not transaction and tasks. So I know there's a lot of companies out there that have internal mentorship programs, and they're structured as a way to make sure that both sides are getting value, which I think is good. And that's a good form to kind of test and dabble in. But I think as you further develop in your career and you start to build relationships and connections, a lot of times those relationships that you maybe didn't intend to become mentorships do. And I think there's a lot of beauty in that, because the foundation of it really is that someone cares and is invested in your career, and they want to kind of take you under their wing. And so look out for that, again, not just necessarily asking, hey, can you be my mentor, but seeing how those relationships can develop over time. And I really, truly think, number one, and we talk about this all the time on the show, but if you go into your career looking to build genuine relationships and connections with people, you never know what that can turn into. It can turn into mentorships. It can turn into future jobs. It can turn into clients, what have you. But I think if you have the right intention about building connections with people, it can come to fruition in a number of different ways, including mentorships, which is really beautiful.
Yeah, and we also have another episode around, how to find the right mentor fit for you, with Matthew Miller, and it's a really good conversation just like about that, further diving into that. So we'll also put that in the show notes if anybody wants to listen into that. But the next one is also from Alfred. She said the term networking holds a lot of weight. And if the concept overwhelms you, just change the title to connecting with people, because that's less daunting and you don't feel like you have to make multiple new connections. You can go into something like a networking event or, your day-to-day on LinkedIn or social or something, just with the goal to meet one new person and exchange contact information. I feel like a lot of times, and she was kind of alluding to this, like networking is scary and it seems like this thing that you like have to do to further your career, but you're kind of like, I don't want to go into a room full of people I don't know and like have to have all these conversations about what the work that I do and like who I am. And you want to just like make a genuine connection. And so I think her perspective on just like having the goal to meet one person is like so impactful. And it's another thing that we've talked about before, like even in regards to like marketing, just always have the one person that you're wanting to connect with in your mind. And you'll go far. I mean, you will probably go into something like a networking event with that goal and come out with like 5 people. But if you define success as like, okay, I met this one person, I'm carrying on to like a coffee afterwards, or I'm exchanging like, services or information, knowledge sharing with that person, that's going to be more valuable than just going into a wide room and just kind of like spreading your name around and just like not really making any real connections. So I love that she said that as well.
Yeah. And I think one thing too is that depending on what kind of event it is, a lot of times you can find out in advance who's either attending or speaking at the event or sponsoring the event. So you can do some research on what brands or people are going to be present. And I think having that initial phase of research almost pre going into that event and knowing who you want to connect with and any sort of connection points that you have with that person to kind of bridge the gap and introducing yourself, I think is helpful as well. So going in a little bit prepared if you can. I know that's not always the case depending on what event it is. You can definitely do that. And I think having that preparedness helps a little bit with that nervousness. And okay, I want to connect with these 2 main people. That's my goal. And I'm going to walk away feeling fulfilled. I think that's important, even if you don't have that knowledge in advance. To your point and the point that Les was making, if you just go into that saying, I'm going to connect with one new person and exchange contact info and leave feeling good about it, setting that goal for yourself and like actively meeting that goal, I think makes that situation feel a lot better.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, last point here that we have is from Michael Kaye. And Michael said, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and improve by chasing the uncomfortable. So he was kind of sharing how he has over time become less nervous with public speaking and how he did that. So for him, he was kind of giving some examples of how to improve in that area. And one of the things he was talking about is how he literally asked his leader if he could present to interns at the company and share some ideas or some concepts or a campaign. But he was also saying, go on podcasts and be asked questions and share your story or speak on panels. And so there's a number of different ways to put yourself out there that can seem a little bit uncomfortable, but the more that you do it, the more that you shape those skills and improve in that area. And this can be a number of things. It doesn't just have to be public speaking. It can be writing a newsletter or becoming better at copywriting, or it could be things in your role that you previously or currently do. And so the more that you kind of push those areas within yourself and just work to improve and work to take on things that are maybe outside of your day-to-day just to become better at that area, I think that's so incredibly important.
Yeah, and that wraps back around to like what the whole ethos of the event was, like pivoting in your career. It's never too late to do the things that you want to do. And I think that in order to do the things that you want to do or the things that you love, you have to kind of become an expert in those things. And so if you are not yet, you can put yourself out there in one of these many ways and start to become that expert. And I think that was an excellent point that he made too. I wanted to give a shout out to our sponsors from the event. We had some incredible brands that were a part of the evening. So 99 Designs by Vista, they really helped us with our event collateral, and we had some posters and some cards that we gave out to attendees with information and things like that. They're a really great resource for things like that. We also had Ilia Beauty. They gave us the blue light setting mist that all of our attendees got to take home. We had the New Bar supply non-alcoholic beverages. We had Lemon Perfect giving us some hydrating electrolyte waters. We had My Muse giving us some refreshing sodas. And then, of course, we had creative people who really brought the event together with us. We did a lot of back and forth meeting with them, trying to really make this an impactful and amazing event. And they were the most incredible partners ever. And we're so excited to see what comes forward with our partnership with them.
Yeah, it was so good. And I know we have a lot more in store. This was our first really big in-person event. And I know the goal is to do many more. And so lots coming up, lots in mind for us for the future. And so make sure if you are not subscribed to our email newsletter, you do so. And the form is linked below. But so Erica, you mentioned we are officially 3 years in for the podcast. And I know we've kind of been celebrating 3 years for several months. We've mentioned that a bunch of times, but the reason is because in April of 2021, we launched on Clubhouse. And then in June, July of 2021, we
July
launched
13th.
July 13th. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So literally this week. So July 13th of 2021, we launched the actual podcast. So it's kind of funny to like look back and see the evolvement of the show. But yeah, we did start on Clubhouse when it was very hot and very popular.
Yes.
And then that's when like you couldn't record conversations on there. And we're like, we need to find a way to get this stuff in front of people who can attend live. So anyways, that's a little background if you've never heard on the show, but we figured to celebrate 3 years of the podcast, we wanted to play a little game. So we're going to do a little this or that and both answer them rapidly so you guys can get to know us a little bit more.
Amazing. I'm so excited. I feel like we did some of this like in our earlier episodes, like in season 1, and we just kind of dropped it and never did it again. But if you've always been curious about who the heck we are and like what makes us tick and all of that kind of stuff, like this game will just be a fun insight into that. So without further ado, Cassie, how about being too hot or being too cold? What do you prefer?
Being too cold because you can always warm up from that. What about you?
Same, which is hilarious because we both live in Florida and it's summer right now and it's the hottest summer I feel like I've experienced in a long time. So definitely being too cold, but apparently we torture ourselves by being in Florida, being too hot. But Cassie, okay, TikTok or Instagram Reels?
TikTok, 100%.
Okay, I also love TikTok, but I deleted it off of my phone. So now Instagram Reels girl. But I feel like they did improve, like a couple, like maybe a year or a couple months ago, it was kind of like Instagram Reels was all the delayed, like very delayed content from TikTok. I feel like it has gotten a little bit better to where it's not as delayed. So I still feel like I'm in the loop, even though I'm an Instagram Reels person.
Yes.
Money or free time?
I wish I could say a combination of both, but I know I
Right.
can't. I would probably say money initially in order to buy more free time. So I'm gonna kind of cheat the system there. What about you?
That's actually really good. I was gonna say free time because, well, free time, but like filled, not just like random free time, but free time
Yeah,
with friends and family. That's my
there we
thing.
go. That's a great
Um,
answer. I'm like money. Just give me all the
yes.
money.
I mean, everybody wants money. Let's be real. It's not like I'm going, oh no, I'm so noble. I would never want money. Like, you know what I
Oh
mean?
my
Okay.
word.
Anyway, beach or mountains?
I love both, but beach, 100%. Yeah. What about you?
I am so torn. I am such a mountain person, but I haven't been to the mountains in a long time. I do love the beach, but I'm very particular about the beach. Like I can't just go lay on a towel. Like I have to have the whole works of like a chair or like a hammock or something. So I feel like I'm high maintenance at the beach, but mountains, I can just go anywhere and be happy. So kind of both, but leaning mountain. Um,
Nice.
Blog posts or video content, speaking of like marketing things.
Yeah, yeah. So if it were to do with me creating, I would say blog posts. But if it were to do with me consuming, I'd say video content. What about
Ooh,
you?
interesting. I think honestly, it just depends on the blog post or the video content because if it's video content like Love Island or like or like things I'm interested in, great. But other video content, I'm like, okay, this is going on forever. Blog posts though, I have a few blogs that I like love that are tried and true and I've followed from the beginning. So I always love seeing those. I don't know. I know I'm not supposed to say both. So blog posts. Okay.
There we go.
Going back to the more fun, weird questions. No internet or no running water?
Ah, Um, so oh gosh, this is so hard. I could go on a whole dissertation about this. If I could leave my house, I would choose no internet because I can go to a coffee shop, even though that would incredibly be very annoying.
Wouldn't be able to have
Uh,
coffee if there
I
was no one
know.
running
Or
water.
showers.
Right.
Okay,
No.
no internet because
Yeah.
no running water would
Full,
be terrible,
yeah,
actually.
full on the train of no internet. I
Yeah,
would love it if we had no internet, although I don't know what any of us would do for our jobs, and I don't know what any of us would do for fun. So,
we'd figure it out.
we can just like hang out and like go play outside. Like
Yeah,
that's what we and at least we would be smelling fresh because we'd have showers.
exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Bagel or donut?
Bagel, no question. I don't even have an explanation for that.
Honestly, same. I do love a good donut, though. It just, again, very particular about the type of donut.
Yes.
Anyway, I'd still say bagel. Okay, cheesecake or brownie?
Brownie.
How are these like opposites? I get the bagel or donut question because it's like savory or sweet, but how is
I
a
know.
cheesecake and brownie separate?
They're
Okay,
both good, but
they are both
brownie.
good. What if we had a cheesecake with a brownie bottom? Like that would be perfect.
Perfect. Both.
I'm good with that. Okay, I think I know your answer to this one, but maybe I don't. One Direction or Jonas Brothers?
Oh, Jonas Brothers, 100%. I
Okay,
just saw them last year. Like, love
I knew you
them.
were gonna say that.
Yeah.
I love them too. But I would say One Direction. Like if they could get back together, that'd be amazing.
Wow.
Um, I would love that. But I'm not like I was never one of those like kids that loved One Direction. I just like I don't know. I like their music.
I
Um,
love Harry Styles, though. So
I-
I do give it that. Yeah.
yeah. I was more on like instead of like the boy bands, I was all about like, I don't know, the girls of the time, like Hilary Duff, Taylor Swift,
Yes.
all that.
Yeah.
Um, okay, breakfast or dinner?
Dinner.
Mm, honestly, people listening are going to be so mad at me because I'm like both. I'm a breakfast person. I like breakfast for dinner if I'm like at home. I'm a huge like breakfast sandwich person. However, a dinner out is my
Mm-hmm.
thing. Like that's a
That's, yeah.
dinner out or a dinner party is like my favorite thing in the world. So, both, but leaning breakfast, honestly.
Mm.
Okay, going back to some marketing things, influencer partnerships or UGC? That's interesting.
To consume UGC, but gosh, see, this is so hard because I don't do this in my day to day from a professional standpoint. You do. I think UGC overall, I really love like seeing creators jump on stuff on their own and share their own personal opinions. So I would say UGC.
Yeah, I'm with you. And again, it's kind of both, but strategic influencer partnerships that go beyond the traditional like transaction of, hey, talk about your brand
Yes.
on my social media page. Like I'm all about like have an influencer curate a collection on your website, or have an influencer work in tandem with you on an actual product. Like those type of influencer collaborations, that's like the future, I feel like, of influencer in general. However, you're right. I think UGC is more authentic and probably drives more actual sales just from like the traditional influencer partnership to like UGC. I feel like UGC probably drives more sales because those creators typically have a like, smaller audience that actually really trusts them and follows them for recommendations like this. Whereas like a traditional influencer, it obviously depends on like what tier you're speaking to, but traditional influencers are just trying to share recommendations and put it out to their wider audience. So I'm kind of with you.
Yep.
Okay. Call or text, and then we have one more.
Text, I'm better at. I want to be better at phone calls. Here's my theory really quickly. I know this is supposed to be rapid fire, but I feel like for me, I do so many calls on a regular basis that taking another phone call, although it is very important for relationship building, I am not very good at initiating that. So I want to be better, but right now I'm better at text messaging. How about you?
I like phone calls better, but I understand like as we get older, it's harder to do phone calls because everyone has like a separate schedule. Like you can't just like call someone up and they're going to be free to chat with you.
Right.
So what I like to do is voice text. Like the
Yes.
voicemail in a text is like my favorite thing. I mean, you and I do that back and forth all the time. Like that's kind of my main way to communicate with people at this point. And then I kind of just text like actual words in order to like make plans. That's kind of like
Yes.
strategy, I guess.
Agreed.
Okay. Last thing, audio podcasts or visual video podcasts?
So this depends. There's certain podcasts that I love watching the video of, i.e., Call Her Daddy is one of them, i.e., small plug, the Discover Universal podcast. But I am mostly an audio person, mostly because I listen to podcasts when I am driving. That's like my number one podcast time. What about you?
Yeah, I'm the exact same except sub walking for driving, and I can't really watch a video
Right.
while I'm walking unless I want to get hit by a car. So,
Which would not be good. We don't want
no,
that.
no, no, not at all.
Oh my gosh. Well, that was great. Thanks for playing along with us.
And if you are still
Yes.
listening, we really appreciate you. Thank you for
Thanks for
actually
hanging out.
hanging out with us. And if you have a fun answer to any of these questions, please let us know. Like reach out to us on Instagram or something. We'd love to chat with
I
you about
know
it.
your hot take. We love hot takes here on the podcast, so keep us posted. But yes, just want to thank you overall for 3 years of just listening in this amazing community. Truly grateful to do things like go to New York and just work on these amazing events like we did. But we would love for you to stay connected with us. And we have an email list with job postings and social media updates and marketing updates and all the things. We would love for you to join along with us and to stay tuned about future events that we have coming up and just resources we're creating. That really is the best place to do that. So would love to have you join us there. And also, we work so hard on this podcast and we love doing it, but we'd love to hear your feedback and a review. So if you have not done so, head to your favorite podcast platform you are listening on right now and just drop us some feedback or even a couple stars and let us know what you think of the show just overall. We would truly be grateful for that. And that just really fuels our time and drive and attention to create this show. But just overall, thank you so much. We're truly grateful for you. This episode is brought to you in partnership with Creative People. Creative People offers a human-first approach to the recruiting process for both brands and talent to help build best-in-class product, design, and marketing teams for the world's most disruptive startups. If you're looking for an excellent partner to assist you in searching for and hiring your next team member, head to creativepeople.com to get started. Don't forget to tell them you were referred by Marketing Happy Hour.